This video is brought to you by CatBeast.com. Design your own custom snapbacks and hats.
How's it going, guys? My name's Wilson. Before I start this video, I would like to give a shout out to my sponsor, CatBeast.com. CatBeast.com is your one-stop shop for custom snapbacks made from people all around the world. You can design your own custom hats, snapbacks, beanies, and finding other great designs that suit your fitting. Now on to the video. Some of the more criticized players involved in multiple trade talks in the past have been scrutinized for their weaknesses. There's no perfect example to proving doubters wrong than the Boston Celtics' Marcus Smart, 2022 Defensive Player of the Year, came off the bench for several years, but after getting the opportunity to be a starter, the team flourished, became contenders. From just an average role player to borderline all-star level good. Same goes with Andrew Wiggins, from overrated with the Wolves barely winning anything to being underrated all of last season and now properly rated. So let's start off this season with De'Aaron Fox of the Sacramento Kings. The organization, been through many tough coaching changes, was on verge competing for a playoff spot in year 2, only to fall short after February. Franchise barely improved to finishing the terrible 30-52 record last season under Luke Walton. Fox got plenty of blame for the terrible late game executions down the stretch, made poor decisions after another. His reputation took a downward spiral when younger guys like John Morant excelling and making the playoffs on a winning team. Fox's numbers went down from 25 to 23 points a game, plus the rise of Tyrese Halliburton limited Fox's abilities. The franchise made one of the biggest gambles, trading away their second-year guard in exchange for another star, which turned out to be the best thing to happen for the franchise in 2 decades. Fox's leadership and character also raised questions, combined with his NFT controversy, caused many fans to call him out about the scamming, shut down his projects in the middle of last season without any clear validation. But after the post-Halliburton trade, Fox has been playing out of his mind. His last 14 games of last season averaged 29 points on 50% shooting, much improved to having the most clutch points through February of this season. The third seed mixed the right plays, shooting over 50% from the field for the first time. Many were shocked. Fox was snubbed from the All-Star team before having an injured replacement allowed him in. The 25-year-old joins teammate Sabonis, representing the Kings, one of the better closers, now reliable, mixed the right plays, allows his teammates to drive, and plays within the flow of the offense. The maturity difference from a year ago, astonishing, making huge strides to ending a record-long 16-year playoff drought for the team. Devin Booker, who got absolutely crushed and humiliated after his comments about the Luka special last playoffs. After being in the conversation as an MVP candidate, 64 wins, the best player on his team, Book did suffer a right hamstring injury that limited him throughout the first round, missing 3 games in the New Orleans series to not being himself game 6 and 7. Whereas Dallas, not only just a pure scorer, improved defensively, underrated playmaker, 31 games played, Phoenix 20 and 11 with him on the floor, and after his injury, team starting to look way better. Phoenix lost a ton of games without Book, went 3 and 13 without him at one point. The team's offense and scoring not the same. Will have a chance to finally be the second offensive option when new addition superstar Kevin Durant makes his Suns debut sometime after the All-Star break. Book might never be in the superstar conversation with the Lukas and Giannis's of the world, but reliable secondary playmaker under Paul when needed, can also play without the ball and score 40 on any given game. Him and KD might just be the best duo when the two finally get to play together. How about Booker's teammate Deandre Ayton, criticized and ridiculed for being soft as a former #1 pick, will likely never be a superstar caliber big, but very good player and better than most give him credit for. Some believe he'd be totally unplayable come playoff time, but his first postseason, better than expected, held his own against the ADs and Jokic's of the world. His attitude and feelings does get in the way, from wanting to be traded only for Phoenix to match his Indy offer, remaining put with the team. His lack of aggressiveness holds him back at times, and reasons why his name doesn't get mentioned amongst the other good bigs. Settles for missed bunnies instead of trying to dunk it, usually more athletic than 90% of other centers on the floor. Has flipped the switch last week and a half, playing the best basketball of his NBA career, back-to-back 30+ point, 50+ rebound games, looking unstoppable. Phoenix back to their winning ways when aggressive. Ayton's a man possessed. The fact that the team still has DA while adding Kevin Durant Ayton becoming the 4th player since 1955 to score 30 plus on 75% shooting in consecutive games will only get easier opportunities if he doesn't let his ego get in the way. No reason why Phoenix won't become the 2023 champs after adding one of the greatest players the game has ever seen. Pascal Siakam of the Toronto Raptors. The 28-year-old should be in the prime of his career, quietly averaging a career-best 25 points a game, 8 boards, 6 assists, rounding out his all-around game. Place either the 4 or 5 because his Raptors not winning a whole lot. His name barely gets mentioned amongst the best forwards, even snubbed for the All-Star game before being the first replacement out east. Tons of playoff experience, super vital to the 2019 title team, to being an absolute travesty. Game 6 versus the Celtics in the bubble, locked heavy minutes. Pascal was then labeled overrated, wasn't an all-star in 2021 or 2022. In the discussion with other guys like Jaylen Brown, Zach LaVine, and Brandon Ingram, Spicy P probably would go top 3 in his draft class if there was a redo. Literally never talked about. Many people listing their top 30 players today, Pascal wouldn't even crack their list, but some believe he's so good could be as high as 15. Good enough to make 3rd team All-NBA a season ago and wasn't even an all-star. His game might not be flashy or make the highlight reels. The 6'9" power forward has clearly been more reliable and better than Kyrie Irving the last 4 seasons. Way more consistent without question. Some might get emotional about that statement, but any reasonable organization rather add Siakam on their roster than the disgruntled, unpredictable Irving. Bam Adebayo. Nobody talks about how great he's been. His team would be nowhere without him. And Jimmy Butler lacks size, no taller than 6'9", the undersized 5, heavily dependent upon, especially on defense. His presence inside and being able to guard every position makes him a defensive player of the year candidate. Numbers of 22 and 10, about 54% shooting from the field, one of the best free throw shooting bigs at over 80%, a top 3 to 5 defender in the whole league, but no one talks about that. Only people who truly pay attention, Miami Heat fans, understand Bam's value, slowly making the most noise since the bubble playoffs. The lack of all-star voting deafening, an absolute travesty. Bam didn't even make top 10 Eastern Conference front court voting because the Heat deem as disappointments, from Jared Jackson Jr. and Brook Lopez making all the noise for Defensive Player of the Year considerations. Bam viewed an afterthought. Whenever wings like Tyler Hero, Matt Strus, or Duncan Robinson out there, easily one of the weakest defensive wings, Adebayo fixes many flaws from his teammates. No question, he's better than Rudy Gobert. Kyle Kuzma. From consistently getting shit on by hostile Laker fans, many didn't even want to award him with a ring given his lack of playing time in the bubble when he was viewed upon as the 3rd option, struggled playing with LeBron and AD, considered a very good player, averaging nearly 19 a game in year 2 with no expectations, to just under 13 a game with the 2020 team, struggled being a spot-up shooter, limited touches, to having a career season right now. Many nights look like the best player on his team, averaging 21, 8 and 4, the 6'9" power forward, super aggressive, will never be a true number 1 on a good team. Some thought he was flat out terrible after his tenure in LA, which absolutely overblown. Kuz simply puts in the work, much improved passer, smooth and more agile than most guys his size, defense underrated, although super inconsistent. His best 2-month stretch, course of 31 games, November 20th to January 25th, numbers of over 24 points, 7.5 rebounds, over 4 assists. The 27-year-old contract looking like a bargain if you ask me. Half the time, he looks better than overpaid teammate Bradley Beal. From meme to being in borderline all-star discussion talks, having a lot of fan votes too, Laker fans begging to get him back. Fearless and never shines away from taking shots late in the clock, looking for over 20 million a season, and rightfully so. Likely won't be part of the Wizards franchise for long, proving he can absolutely ball. Julius Randle balling for the Knicks right now. From hated, despised, booed, even frustrated with teammates, the New York pressure got to him a season ago. A roller coaster career, considered a laughingstock from signing summer of 2019 after Brooklyn signed Kyrie and KD. Randle's time in New York simply more cherished. Fans begging to trade him a season ago, to constantly making boneheaded plays, his aggression and work ethic heavily respected. Bouncing back like this from a hostile environment deserves plenty of credit. Named an all-star for the 2nd time, many thought his 2021 year a one-hit wonder, but now Mr. Reliable, pretty much playing every game, adapting with Jalen Brunson, less showboating and more cuts to the rim. His weakness, sometimes giving way too much effort and going too hard. then committing costly turnovers, but fearless, much more of a finisher now when his threes falling, looks unstoppable, as bizarre a career as anybody, even getting some MVP chant with a terrific point guard, his game reaching new heights, experiencing the full syndrome, being an athlete in New York City, able to regroup and build up after living in a nightmare a year ago. Huge respect to the 6'8" power forward. Kristaps Porzingis, after an ugly ending with the Knicks demanding out to never being available in Dallas when needed, failed to become a reliable second option to Luka, treated poorly by Rick Carlisle, inconsistent and missed tons of time, having his most efficient season so far, nearly 23 a game, 8.5 rebounds, 48% from the field, but nobody talks about him anymore. Not fading out this late into the season like previous years as 2023 progressed, still one of the best shooting 7-footers out there, double-digit 30-point game on the season, from being an MVP talks in 2017 to now an afterthought in the league. When you ask somebody to name 50 NBA players today on top of their head, Porzingis probably not even one of them that crossed your mind. The 27-year-old defense still there from time to time, super versatile, spreads the floor, much improved passer. If his body don't fail him, Porzingis' best basketball might be yet to come. Aaron Gordon, from View to Bust during his time with the Magic, trying to figure out his identity, all those failed years being inefficient and stuck in no man's land, him and Jokic literally one of the best duos in the entire league, let alone the best front court, a lot smarter, getting easy buckets, plays to his strength, and being the second best player most nights on the best team in his conference, the perfect example of a highly talented player excelling in the right system. There's a reason why he used to be the 4th overall pick. Defense absolutely vital. Many were even skeptical about him being traded to the Nuggets. Could be the best move the franchise ever made. James Harden, an absolute travesty to be snubbed from the All-Star team. Many have taken him for granted over these years. One of the best offensive players this generation, his scoring and athleticism declined, but the Beard literally leads the NBA in assists per game. Incredible underrated playmaker, capable of leading the league in dimes multiple times, and somehow his passing never gets mentioned with the LeBrons and Jokic's of the world. The second best player on a contender, Jrue Holiday and DeMar DeRozan over Harden, simply doesn't sound right. Holiday being under the radar many years, coaches think about him over Harden now. Although Jrue's defense elite, Harden's a way better offensive player and been a franchise superstar for a decade. DeRozan on the terrible Bulls team, not going anywhere, gets rewarded despite the losing. Because of the missed time this season, the fact that Harden's name now becoming an afterthought, simply not right, was way better this season compared to last season. Had DeRozan not been named an All-Star, to be honest, there wouldn't have been much of an outrage. Many don't even put the Beard in the top 20 anymore, still gets a bad rap after leaving Houston and Brooklyn in hostile fashion. For some people to even say the Nets won that trade a year ago since Ben Simmons was younger is not even damn close. If Harden shows up this postseason, leads his team to at least the conference finals, will be much more respected. Thanks for watching this video. Which of these players have been the most underrated this season? Let me know in the comments below. Love y'all. See you next time.